Welcome back. Now, tomorrow night, Penny Appeal South Africa will be hosting their live pledge line on Hilaal TV to raise funds for the innocent and displaced victims of Gaza. Joining us now to look ahead to that pledge, I'd like to welcome Shahnaaz Paruk. Shahnaaz, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah so much for joining us.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Always a pleasure to be speaking with you.
Yeah, same here. Shahnaaz, let's look ahead, obviously, to that pledge. But before that, of course, you were, if I'm not mistaken, by the Rafah border or nearby. Just talk to us about, obviously, you were there. We've seen the promos on Hilaal TV, of course. You were helping to pack, obviously, those boxes. Talk to us about that and just, the work that is being done in order to make sure that that aid is being given to the people of Gaza.
Indeed, alhamdulillah, it was a really humbling initiative when we embarked on this humanitarian aid mission. The mission was primarily to ensure that we could verify procurement first and foremost, which is really important. Considering the current landscape, we're hearing a lot of reports of aid not being available. We're hearing a lot of reports of aid not making its way through. And so we felt the right thing to do was to physically go in and verify for ourselves. It was a really fruitful trip in that we were able to identify suppliers. We were able to ensure that procurement was done in a timeous fashion, in line with what was required, and of course the back end of that, which is ensuring that paperwork is in order so that the humanitarian aid can pass through the Rafah border crossing. It was a learning experience as well. We learned a lot in terms of, what are the actual mandates or what's the actual process around getting humanitarian aid in. It clarified a lot for us. It put us in a much better position to be able to respond and share this information with individuals, with the public, so that they're aware of what the process is and how humanitarian aid is actually getting into Gaza.
Shahnaaz, talk to us about how long Penny Appeal has been giving aid to the people of Gaza.
Penny Appeal South Africa has been working through our Love Palestine project with people in Gaza, with people in the rest of the areas nearby in Palestine as well for a number of years. Our projects have in the past, prior to the situation that's unfolding, it's focused primarily on supporting orphaned and vulnerable children. We've had programs that are really amazing in terms of working with widows, encouraging skills, and of course providing food security. Fast track to what we're seeing today unfolding, clearly the entire portfolio in terms of what we do with the people of Palestine, specifically in Gaza, changes. And that focus has been us being able to deliver aid inside of Gaza within that initial week. Alhamdulillah, we were able to identify through our staff and our teams on the ground who reside in Gaza. We were able to have supplies, provide hot meals, provide water, be able to offer some blankets as well. Obviously now the landscape has changed because all of these supplies are no longer available as freely as they once were because of the bombings. And so we still have our teams on the ground, all of whom have now been affected and impacted by displacement. We've had one of our staff members residing in a hospital when it was safe. Now, subsequently, we haven't heard from him for at least 5 days. I suppose we will hear from him once he's, back in communication, inshallah. But the point here is that the way and the manner in which we respond to the needs of the people of Gaza changes as much as the situation on the ground changes. We're told that we're able to only send in specific types of aid. Alhamdulillah, we make the effort to send that type of aid in with the hopes that it reaches those people. So definitely our commitment is there first and foremost. And I think more than that, us being able to tailor our response according to the need on the ground is something really important and something we continue to prioritize and do.
Alhamdulillah. Shahnaaz, that's obviously we saw yesterday with the UN General Assembly, the push for that ceasefire to happen. And I think both you and I and so many others want that ceasefire to happen because of what it means for the people of Gaza. And then one would assume that that ceasefire would really help, Penny Appeal South Africa to try and get, that aid through. And not just you, but so many organizations that want to get aid through to Gaza, but really aren't able to do that because there is just no ceasefire and the bombing obviously stopping that aid from coming.
I think the ceasefire would be something that I cannot stress how important it is, how much it's needed, not just in terms of humanitarian aid, in terms of having children, men, women, children, have some peace in their lives, have some kind of means to be able to gather themselves, if possible at all, um, after everything that's happened, all of the bombings, all of the harassment, all of the basically mainstream genocide that we see going on. Humanitarian organizations are working around the clock. I think for everybody, it's been the most challenging aid response project we've ever worked on. Situation is changing day by day. And if there is a ceasefire, we would then obviously have to push for more humanitarian aid corridors to be open so more aid can come in more freely. I think the biggest challenge right now is the bottleneck of trucks. We hear at the borders that the borders are closed, but in actual fact, what we're seeing is a bottleneck and delay. And whether this delay of shipments of aid, humanitarian aid, is deliberate or whether it's a logistical challenge that creates the delay, the fact remains aid is available, aid is being sent in, but we're seeing a delay in it reaching those on the ground. So ceasefire, absolutely, absolutely, to protect and preserve what life is left, to protect and preserve those children, those men, those women who are there. And more than that, for them to be able to have some kind of dignity in accessing their basic needs, which I think cannot be emphasized enough.
One final question, Shahnaaz. Let's look ahead to that pledge tomorrow. What can our viewers pledge towards?
I really, really, extend my appeal to viewers to please consider supporting this appeal. We want to send in more humanitarian aid. We want to be able to send in many more trucks, medicine, hygiene packs for women, food, water. These are all items that are needed. There are men, women, and children who daily do not have access to this. It is a literal challenge for them to go out and find food every day. There are children who are thirsty, they have no water. There are people who have existing medical conditions such as diabetes, cancer, who don't have access to this medication and they need it desperately. There are children who have been wounded. The recovery period for them and their limbs literally can only be encouraged or sped up with certain supplements and certain medications that they need. All of this is only possible if we're able to access funds that we're able to send humanitarian aid through. And so my appeal is please consider supporting our appeal tomorrow night with whatever you may have. All amounts are welcome. All intentions are accepted, first and foremost. That's the most important thing. But I think the biggest thing is please open your hearts, dig deep, and please support this cause. It is going to be ongoing. The situation has not simmered. I do not foresee it becoming any better in the short term, meaning that should there be a ceasefire, we'd then be looking at assisting those individuals who are displaced. And that in itself is a huge, huge project or a huge humanitarian response that's needed. So please consider your ongoing response to the people or your ongoing donations to the people of Gaza. Please consider supporting our appeal because every single rand counts and time is of the essence for us to be able to get that aid through to them, inshallah.
Inshallah, I mean, Shahnaaz, all the best for tomorrow. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the pledge a successful one and grant you and the rest of your team the strength and ability to continue the fantastic work you are doing, inshallah. Ameen.
Inshallah, Ameen. Shukran. Jazakallah khair.
Ameen Tuma Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That's Shahnaaz Paruk from Penny Appeal, South Africa. The pledge line tomorrow night here on Hilaal TV, starting from 8 o'clock. After the break, I'll have your latest in news, finance, sports. Do stay tuned.